Good morning. How's everyone? How's everyone? Um, I trust that you rested well, as always. I will that you rested well, that you ready to get things popping, or to get things started, get things cracking. However you visualize it, but you definitely came into this day invigorated, empowered, ready, and knocking out those heavy tasks first thing. I know sometimes we try to put it off when we find so many other things to do. You know, let me go make some breakfast. Let me go iron this. Let me go, you know, watch a podcast, watch a video cast. Thank you, Kashia. Peace, Ricochet. We find so many other things to do, but it's always best, use that dawning time, knock out those heavy tasks, those things that you just don't feel like doing. So I trust that that's what's happening right now. Maybe for some of you, you're still kind of in the bed. I know definitely for my West Coast folks, it's a bit earlier. I'm always amazed when you still make it anyway. Peace, Shannon. You know, um, but yeah, I won't be too long in this segment. I don't think I will be. You know, But I just wanted to greet you like I always do, and give you all an opportunity to greet each other. And peace, Shadow Book, or Grandma. I should say Mama Shadow Book. I saw your comment that you left yesterday about raising your great granddaughter. Peace, brother Antonio. Peace, Plant OG. So I'm gonna have to put Shadow Book in the Mama Marva. Peace, Sister Moksha. Peace, Miss Cindy Jones, Mama Marva, and Mama Kanika. I know we got three verified grandmothers. Of course, Iya Arlene too. So we got four. There's more of them, but those who have said it. Peace, Alex again. You know, yeah. So I have to put you over there. with the matriarchs, the other matriarchs. But yeah, and willfully you were able to get. Miss Cindy Jones is a grandmother. Cindy Jones, private eye. Okay, she's a grandmother. So what was that? Five now, I think I said. Cindy Jones, Ia Arlene, Shadow Book, of course, Mama Marva. There's another one. Oh, Information, I think, is a grandmother too. I think I remember her saying that on a video a long time ago, if I remember correctly, that she's a grandmother. So that's almost about six or seven, somewhere around there. I lost count. Information, Shadow Book, Ia Arlene, Mama Marva. There was Peace, Mama Armand. There was another one in there. I lost it already. Sorry. But shout out to the grandmothers. Yeah, it'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. But oh, what's the face? Yeah, and then we got some younger grandmothers. We got some couple 40-year-old grandmothers too that I know of. I won't shout them out, but peace, Ia Andrine. But yeah, so willfully, the grandparent session that we did, you got something that you could use out of that willfully, or maybe it's things that you're already using. Maybe you're already kind of on it as far as the things that we were discussing there. You know, but peace, Michelle Kendrick. So like I said, I'm not going to be too long today. Again, today is a it was a long. Oh, Michelle Kendrick is a grandmother. Oh my goodness. All right, so I ain't even gonna count these again. All right, I'm gonna mess it up again. So that's cool though, because I'm glad you all are sharing that. Because I'm sure I'll be led to do more sessions regarding that relationship, or that grandparent grandchild dynamic. I'm sure, because I actually do enjoy speaking about family. Especially because a lot of us come up in a time where maybe our models were a little skewed, or we just were kind of feeling our way through it. and or sometimes we're seeing things happen with our loved ones that we know may not be the best. They may be a little harmful, maybe a little injurious. So to be able to kind of put some of that work in and fix some of that is very valuable. You know, peace to precious mom. You know, so yeah. And I noticed some grandfathers on because I know them too. Yeah, I guess actually it's good. It's a good amount. Grandparents who tune in. Yeah, now that I think about it, you know. Um, but anyway, you know, so we'll probably I'm sure dig back into that again at some point. So I wanted to not maybe continue, but advance a little bit some of what we were building on yesterday in terms of the promises of the Creator as it pertains to the visions of the Creator. And sometimes when we get stuck in our own vision versus the Creator's vision, and you know, there's a couple of things with that. I'm gonna try to go through them quickly because, like I said, I got a lot of early stuff I have to do, and had a lot of late stuff I had to do. Peace, Nikki Love, and brother Amal, and brother Vermont. Rise to you all. You know, so I need to get back to um, what I was doing because I actually been going. I just pulled an all nighter. You know, it was just too much stuff to do last night. And you know, let me say something real quick. You know, a lot of times people like Chief, you need to take a break. You need to rest. I don't. I'm good. Um, I have the life that I want to have. So when you hear me like, yeah, I pulled an all nighter, or I got something to do, or I got a lot to do, I don't have to have a lot to do. Like I don't. The things that I do in my life, I don't actually have to do. You know, and all the work that you see me do, I don't actually have to do. Um, I've structured my life. I've been a hardworking person since I was a young child. So I structured my life in a way where, to keep it totally honest with you, at this point in my life and at the age I am right now, I actually don't have to work anymore. Peace first, last. Um, I actually can pretty much, you know, exist off of residual income. Peace, Tanika. Peeve to you too. Peace, Iris McCabe. Good dawning. You know, so you know all the like just progressive work you see me do is not because I'm like I gotta survive. It's not that at all. This is the life that I wanted. You know what I mean? This is the life that I wanted. And I like working. I don't have an issue with working. So when I'm pulling an all nighter, I want to pull an all nighter. I don't have a problem with staying up for a day. It's like fasting. You know, at least to me, sometimes it feels good to take a day and to dry fast and not eat anything, right? Well, for me, I'm the same way with sleep. Sometimes it feels good not to sleep, just to stay up. There's a different vibe at 1 a.m., at 2 a.m., at 3 a.m., at 4 a.m. And it's nice to experience that. It's almost like if, you know, remember when you were a child, if you ever cut school, you know, and hopefully you did. But if you ever cut school, there's like a world of wonderment when you're outside at 10 a.m., you know, or at 1 p.m., and you're like, this is what life is like outside at this time because you're just so used to being inside of a classroom. Well, when you immerse yourself in a project or in work through the night or whatever, it's a similar kind of feeling because it's a different vibe you take on at different times of the day, you know. But I'm a worker. That's what it is, and there's a very large and grand vision that the Creator has allowed me to see. So that very large and grand vision, peace, change, it requires effort and labor and work. And I approach that work joyously. You know, I don't approach it like, oh, even if you see me do these lives and my eyes are red, which is a lot of them, you know, and like, or they're barely open, or you could just kind of tell I'm a little lethargic. Um, it's a good fatigue. Trust me, it's not. It's not a chief is getting beat down by life. I don't think I look like I've been beat down by life. I think I'm holding it up pretty well for my age. You know, so and that's because I'm living a dream. Like they say, I'm living a dream. I just wanted to iterate that, because I get a lot of that sometimes. Like, Chief, I feel bad for you. No, um, this is what I want. And sometimes I share even, yeah, I got this to work on, I got that to work on. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because you ain't in my life. I'm like, hey, because some of you dudes are lazy. Peace, Tracy. And you might think that my life revolves around reading books and watching documentaries and doing lives. And there's so much more to a man than sharing theory. There also you have to put your hands to things. You have to put yourself, in the midst of things, and put things into practice. So it's not just me going to the park and getting some movement in and stretching out and work and whatever I do there. Let's just say I move. It's not just that. It's not just me doing spiritual things and being on the mat and doing Ifa readings or breaking down different scripture and stuff like that, or being with women, or whatever. It's all of that and then some and more. And sometimes, Peace Pat Mini 144, as a man, you're going to stay up all night, if again, because it's the vision that keeps you up. It's the vision that drives you. um if you have one. If not, then yeah, you probably in bed every day at 8 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the point in being up? You know what I mean, or whatever. And then you probably early to bed, late to rise. You might be one of those. I don't know. But for me, I'm invigorated and I'm charged by what I see. You know what I mean? So, um, meditation and feeding from a positive environment keeps me going, and keeps me moving. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. I know that was a long share, but I think it's necessary, because I'm not a yeah I'm not a struggling, fatigued kind of teacher at all. I there's times I could use rest and things like that, but it's never because of the work that I'm sharing with you. The rest, I'm gonna be 100 totally honest with you. 95% of the time when I need rest is from dealing with people. Screen froze up again, so let's see what happens. Okay, we're back. But yeah, that's always what I need a rest from, is from dealing with people and their issues and the personal, talking to them about their personal battles and stuff like that. That's that's what's most fatiguing, you know. But staying up all night and watching the sunrise while I'm working on a proposal, or helping someone do some research, or doing research of my own, or negotiating a buy contract or land contract, or looking at a new business, or scoping out a plan for a business, or filling out a grant application, or whatever it is that I'm working on, or doing our new stuff, or communicating with our new members and about what they're going through, their emotional issues or their economical issues, whatever, and typing up, remedies and prescriptions for them. That's not fatiguing. It's nonsense. Sometimes it's people's nonsense that wears you out, and that's when you're like, all right, I'm gonna go take a couple of days. I'll see you, in a few days. So yeah, but again, it still hinders around vision, right? That's what we're still talking about, the idea of vision. So, um, with that being shared, because it's still in the same vein of what we're talking about, um, I wanted to share a little bit more about vision, because, like I said, it really serves as the container. Peace, James Garabaki. Peace, 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 peace to you. Good dawning. It really serves as the container for all of this stuff that we're talking about. You got to have a vision, right? Because when there's a lack of vision, the people perish, right? Which really means the people are lawless. They have, that's what that word really translates into. There's no law, right? But that we'll break that down another time. Um, So sometimes people, they will confuse the concept of a vision with the concept of an idea, right? And sometimes it's very difficult for people to kind of make a distinguishing line or delineating line between what is a vision. Peace, YG Gutter. What is a vision, and what is an idea, right? And I'm just going to give you a little bit of that just because I think it will help you, because I noticed that some people were getting a little bit confused about, a vision versus an idea. And even when I talk to people, sometimes it's like they're sharing something that's an idea and they think it's a vision, you know. So look at it like this. And this is a very crude way, but it may help you. Uh, your idea is going to be, it's going to share, or the idea may be something that you may have. Usually it's something you have, but it's usually going to speak to an end goal. And it may not necessarily be something that you are enthused about or inspired by or charismatic about. That would be like an idea. Now, how do we get to that particular place or that journey is usually the vision, right? So a lot of times when people say I had a vision one day and I was doing this and I was doing this, they're speaking about a destination, and that's usually an idea of a destination, right? So the idea may be how you get to that destination sometimes, or it could actually be, I have an idea to open up a clinic or something like that, right? Now, when you're given a vision or you're given a promise, it what it does is it speaks to what the journey to that thing is going to look like. So it not only shows what that is, but it shows what the journey is. So the vision would be like, yeah, we open up a clinic in Marrakesh, and the vision was us traveling. We traveled by car, we flew, we saved up money, and we started, maybe we opened up an investment group, and we were investing money as a collective, and then we put money together, and a bunch of us, 10 of us, traveled to the continent, and then we went to Marrakesh, and listen, see, that's the vision. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times the vision will speak more to the not only the destination but the journey. And you may have ideas along the way, which are usually your steps. We can do this, we could do that, we could do that, we can get it done this way, we can get it that one that way. Now, typically, when you have a vision, there's a level of inspiration that accompanies the vision, because the vision, if it's given to you by the creator, then that means it's given to you through spirit. And to be inspired means to be in spirit. You see, so there's a spiritual charisma, or like I said, enthusiasm that accompanies your vision. Whereas an idea, you have a good idea, you can have a bad idea, you can have a pleasant idea, you can have an unpleasant idea, right? An idea doesn't necessarily speak to how you're going to get to the fulfillment of said idea. You see, so and like I said, when you have a vision, you typically don't have to think about how it's going to happen, because, like I said, it's not your problem. If something else or someone else gives you a vision, it's their problem to figure out, or to already have how that vision is going to come into fruition. You see, with an idea, it's now we got to figure out how to bring that into manifestation. So in many senses, sometimes an idea takes, it takes more work. But again, a differentiator is that sometimes you can have an idea about how a vision is fulfilled. So there's a thin line there, if you will, in that sense. It's a thin line, right? But now I'm gonna give you something that's gonna help you to envision better, like when you have a vision, because sometimes that's a challenge. Like, that's why people come to me a lot. Like, they feel that they've been given a vision, or they've been given a spiritual idea or a spiritual inspiration, but they're not clear. Or they had a dream. Sometimes it's a dream, and they had a dream, but they're not clear on that vision or how to fulfill that vision. Peace, Sherelle Cunningham. They're not clear on how they would make that manifest, right? So I'm gonna give you something on that that may help you. I know it will help you if you apply it. It's not even this isn't guesswork. This one's tried and proven, right? So I'm gonna use a biblical story, right? Because I just saw Sister Kashia for the biblical verse, and then well, actually it was something I referenced, so she gave you some more information on it, right? It's a good one though. Um, the actual this same story actually is also a Buddhist story as well, and it's also a story of Bulnar. Bulnar is in Nordic mythology. It's like an old it's an interesting energy. Because I'll get into that another time. I don't want to turn it into a piece. Me, myself, and I. Like when I do these commander days, I try to keep them very simple and try not to go into the metaphysics too much. Um, but we'll talk about Bulnar another time. Peace, Mama Marva, and Krishan. You know, but let's just say this particular story that I'm getting ready to share, it exists through different systems from Yoruba, Ethiopian, Nordic, Kemetic, Hebraic. There's a Vedic story that's very similar. There's a Buddhist story that's almost exact. So this is one of them. This is like the Lazarus story. Like when you read Lazarus, and then you translate, his name, and his name translates to. Let me slow down. Okay. When I start messing up a lot of words like that, it's because there is a profundity of ideas and spirits that are seeking to talk while I'm talking. And it's like, chill. Like, I'm talking right now. Like, y'all can go later. Peace, Anaba free. Good rise to you. And that's what happens when you start to call out deity names. Or you for me, I while I was talking, I started to manifest and think about Buddhist deities and Hindu deities and Hebraic deities and ancient Ethiopian deities. So as I started doing that, I started invoking them mentally, and you notice my tongue started getting tired because now they wanted. In a minute, I was going to be speaking in tongues. Everybody wanted to talk, but this ain't your time to get attention. You know what I mean? So relax. Um, so there was a story of a man who sought for healing, and he was a man who was blind. And as I'm speaking, I'm gonna synthesize some of the stories together because the story, like I said, it exists across several different platforms and systems, right? So what happened was, um, good dawning, Ia Arlene Adams, you know. So what happened was, basically, Yahweh Shai came upon this man, right? Man was blind. And peace, Esme. And this this Christ avatar or incarnation, right? It's important to understand about avatars and all of this. Then you'll understand why so many of these stories across the world link up. You realize they're avatars of one energy. Sometimes, but sometimes they're not. You gotta be careful. Sometimes it's a little bit of a truth. It's a lot of truth with a little lie, which toxifies the entire system. Got to be careful. But anyway, so he's with this blind man, and the blind man, of course, wants to be healed. So he says, okay, walk with me, right? Now that's the important thing. Now I want you for a moment to imagine if you were blind, right? And one of the things about being blind and not having any vision, one of the things there is that you're very vulnerable because when you're blind, just think about even when you're in your home and somebody comes, when you're in a home for a long time, you kind of get used to the sounds of that home. And let's say somebody comes into that home or you hear like a door open or you're upstairs or you're in a room far away from the front door or even the back door let's say it could be nighttime, it could be dark or whatever, and you hear a noise, sometimes it's startling or you're like, who's there, who's that, who's that, until maybe if you live with your family, you start calling out every single name, until somebody answers, is that Raheem? Is that you, Raheem? Is that Keisha, Latoya, you know, Jennifer, Pamela, Angela, Renee? Is there anyone from around the way? So you start calling out everybody's names, so somebody says, yo, yeah, it's me, whatever. And then you could be settled. So, just imagine not having vision. And as a result of not having vision, you're a bit more vulnerable to things that are happening in the world, you know. And so when you want to be healed and you want to be able to see, you have to trust someone who can bring vision, or like for some people who wear eyeglasses, I know you're supposed to get like periodic eye exams. Like I have eyeglasses, but I stopped wearing them. I think there's even a couple of videos with me wearing my glasses because I was reading questions. I stopped wearing them though because I don't want to wear them anymore. And I don't like crutches in my life. I don't like crutches. So you can strengthen your eyesight yourself, but nonetheless, um, when we want to see, we go to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor tunes us up, and knows, can see things that we can't see. So sometimes you'll be looking at a chart, and the chart will be, they say, oh, read what's on the chart, and you'd be like, I see a B, a 9, and the eye doctor knows, like, no, those were two P's. I see an E, and that was a C. you know, and they didn't tune you up, give you another prescription, whatever, and give you an even bigger crutch, so your eyesight can get even weaker. But anyway, I'm not gonna get off onto that one. So, um, in this particular story, you had someone who recognized that they needed to go to an eye doctor. They needed vision, right? So he says, "Walk with me." Now, just imagine, and different stories, it expounds on what that walk was, because imagine when if you go to a healer and you can't see, and the healer says, okay, walk with me, you can imagine what happens is, you're probably not going to walk in silence. It's going to be some kind of talk, like, some of the things you may have read in some of those ancient scriptures, maybe some of those things, or that rhetoric or that theology was repeated in the moments of those walks. Don't fear, I'm with you. We walk by faith and not by sight. These different things that may have been said during that walk. And then when they stopped, imagine this, you're going to someone for healing, and you can't see, you're blind, and you hear, because remember, he spit on his eyes. And I'm trying to do it in a way so I don't spit on the screen. But you hear that. I mean, think about what your first reaction would be. You go to someone to be healed, and you hear him hawk spit. And then all of a sudden, you feel something on your eyes. Because you remember, he asked him, he said, can you see now? You see? And then he said, I see men as if they walking as if they are trees. You see? I see men as if they are trees. So what happened at that moment, he saw the light. He saw the light, however, his vision wasn't clear yet. Now, I want you to understand something about vision. I want you to understand something about this story to learn something about vision. A lot of times we'll get a sprinkle of something. We'll get a hint of a promise and then we'll run with it. So our vision gets a little bit better, but it's not, as they say, 2020 vision, or perfect vision, right? So we'll get a little taste of a vision. We'll say, okay, I'm good. I'm good from here. I got this. Thank you. I could take it from here. And now we start to apply and implement all of the ideas that we have. We're no longer at that point using faith knowledge or unseen knowledge or a cult, because a cult is unseen, the unseen culture. But we're no longer using that unseen knowledge and that unseen knowing that was given to us by the divine. But now we start to interject all of our ideas once we just got a glimmer. And we don't stay with the eye doctor, because when the eye doctor is turning that thing and they're saying, okay, or I haven't been to eye doctor in, I don't know, it's about 20 years, I think. I got the one pair of glasses, and I ain't doing this no more. I'm done with glasses, But I remember the eye doctor was changing lenses, and then they were getting clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer, right? Now, from the first time it got clearer, I could have been like, you know, oh, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Even though I know it wasn't completely clear, but maybe I didn't want to admit my vulnerability. Maybe I didn't want to share like how blind I really am, or maybe I feel like I'm doing this and I don't have humility. And I'm really, it's like when people listen to my segments and especially when I was doing a live in the call-ins, and I'd have certain people who would call in every single Chief Speaks, ask question after question after question after question after question after question after question, and then would turn around and say that they're self-taught. You see, they would then put in the chat or say, well, I've been doing this by myself all this time and nobody helps me. I'm self-taught. But meanwhile, every 7 days you're peppering me with three to four questions. That's a class, and then you're listening to me speak for 2 to 3 hours and answer everybody. That's like you're taking three credits in a Chief Speaks class. You're in school, so you are being taught. So sometimes we have that level of arrogance where we get a little bit of vision, we see the light, but we don't stay long enough to get clarity. We just stay long enough to get a little bit of light. So we're looking at people walk by and we think they're trees, right? So what happened was, peace Nadia, he stayed longer with him. And when he stayed longer with him, he said, okay, let's do this again. And then he healed him. And now he had 20/20 vision. He could see perfectly clear, right? So how did that happen? And here's an important thing. And the story is the same and Buddhist law. Like I said, I'm not going to call all these deities again because then they're going to be trying to talk me out to suppress them again. But the story repeats itself in many different systems. And the thing that always interested me about the story, one was the spit thing, because I'm like, if I'm sitting there blind and I hear someone hawk spit, I got to have a certain level of faith to not like, yo, whoa, 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 what's happening? What are you lubricating? You know, um, number one, and then number two is the person I just met, and then they spit on my eyes. That's usually something that's worth swinging on somebody for. Usually, I guess depending on the circumstances, or the request. But it always fascinated me that that's how the healing occurred. And then on top of that, we know he could have just healed him in one shot. He did more than that in like one shot. Why did he take two shots to do it? And then you start to realize that the healing that we receive and what did the spit represent? Oh, I guess that's a study question for you, yeah, Andrew. Um, so then what happens is during that time of staying with him and walking with him, his faith for his own healing increased, and his capacity for clearer vision increased because peace Ia Aldere, because he stayed within the presence of what it was that was going to empower and invigorate him. You see, so a lot of times our vision is not clear because we're jumping in and out of our pool and our source for where we receive that vision. You see, like, um, I get people who come to me for readings sometimes, but they're not really committed to the culture and the lifestyle and the character that's required that associates the vision. But they get excited by the vision. So sometimes what happens, people come to me for readings, and like they'll say, "I think you're holding back on me, Chief. There's more that you could say that you're not saying." And like I always say, there's always more that I could say that I'm not saying. Well, just tell me everything. No, you're not ready for everything. You know, and part of that sometimes is because you got one foot in and one foot out. So even if I gave the vision in front of you like that, man, you would think that it's trees. Meanwhile, when it's men walking around you and you think they're trees because your vision isn't clear because you haven't received enough of this faith walk. You haven't received enough of this experience. You don't have enough skin in the game to even understand your own vision. And the little light that you received was just enough to let you know you're in the right place. But some people are so self-sabotaging that even once they receive that light that lets them know that they're in the right place, they'll still drift. They'll still mentally drift other places. And I've seen some of my students get so frustrated witnessing other people do that. They were here and they were learning this and they were learning that, and now they're over here and some people don't have the strength for the faith walk. So therefore, the vision over time, the vision gets blurrier and blurrier and blurrier to eventually now they're blind again. They're vulnerable again. And once they're vulnerable to attack again, oftentimes they do get attacked. And then they come back again. Oh, Bob, I remember I was going through the notes in the reading that you gave me back in 2017 or 2016, and I'm still working through that. And it doesn't take you 3, 4 years to work through notes in the reading. You got a little light and then threw that notebook to the side or threw those notes on your phone or that recording on your phone, you threw it to the side and went off and did something else. You see? And now what happened is you started getting blind again. You got a little bit of light, and I said, okay, here's a light, here's the vision. These are the things that you do to put the vision into manifestation to bring it into place. Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. You did a whole bunch of that. Then you put it to the side. Now what was now light now becomes dark again. And it happens every time. And then they reach back out. Oh yeah, or they reach my assistant. They'll email my assistant and say, I got a reading done 2 years ago and I just want some clarity on the reading. You got all the clarity you needed right there in the moment. Peace, Michelle. You got everything you needed right there in the moment. But you drifted off because you didn't want to take that faith walk. Or like the people who sometimes come and they say, I want more of this. I love what this is. Okay, maybe you might want to apply for our new, apply for the ministry. Okay, yeah, maybe I do that. But what if I just want to work with you? No, well, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, but you can join the ministry. You know, so you don't want to continue this walk, or you have an idea yourself of what you want it to be. Well, I want to be right up underneath Chief, and Chief going to turn me into a powerful priest, or Chief going to turn me into a powerful witch because I want to glorify myself. So I'm going to get him to turn me into those things, and I'm not going to follow he's telling me walk with me. Come on and walk with me. And I don't want to walk with him. I just want what I want. And I want it in the place that I am, which means that there's no evolution. That means there's no growth. You see? So vision is coupled and tied to your ability to take the walk. You've heard me say that before, right? When I've done segments and I'm like, just take the ride. I'm saying the same exact thing, but I just use the word ride as opposed to take the walk. Just take the ride. Just trust that I'm bringing you somewhere, and it's gonna increase your clarity. Because some people, I look at sometimes the retention rates on the videos, you know, and how long before people click away and leave and things like that. Or I know some people, they jump into the video just to say peace, chief, to show me that they're here. The games people play, they want to show me that they're here, but I know that they leave. But that way later, when they want something, they can say, "Yeah, chief, I've been following your segments. You've not been following my segments. I'm not stupid." Um, a wise man can see evil from afar. And actually, there's a proverb that says, "A wise man sees evil from afar and then moves turns the other way." You know, but when there's wisdom in you, you can see. I can see your con game self a mile away. You're not fooling anybody. Why? Because my vision is clear. Why is my vision so clear? Because I'm on the faith walk. I'm walking the red road of life. I've decided to take that path. You see, so I don't know everything, and if I knew everything, I would be everybody's deity. You know, but the deity that I speak about is so far beyond my understanding and so far beyond my imagination that, I'll be going for my entire life. I'll be seeking to get comprehension of how that deity thinks, right? Um, but that walk is so critical to increase sight, to increase vision, and it's not just enough to see a little light. Like sometimes I talk to people who they get readings and they say, "Man, I went to this psychic and they were accurate. It was a good reading." And I'll say, "Well, what made it a good reading?" "Oh, because they were saying so many things that only they wouldn't know unless they this that that that." And then I'll share, like, we all have gifts, and just because someone can intuit something or see something, it doesn't mean that they have good character. My battery is dying. Um, I'm wondering if I should even plug it in. All right, I'm plugging in. Give me a second. Give me a second. Hold up, hold up, hold up. I think it's plugged in now. Is it plugged in? I don't know. I think it's plugged in now. We'll find out soon enough. Well, if it dies, then I didn't plug it in. Yeah, but I was just gonna let it die out. But yeah, so the vision becomes a critical thing, like I said, when you see in that story, but it becomes clear vision becomes a critical thing. So that's how a lot of times if you've gotten the vision from the divine versus when you're functioning upon an idea, or if you just allowed yourself to be shown a little bit of light but didn't really allow yourself to actually go through the experience to get that 2020 vision. And a lot of people are operating off of a little bit of light. Like, I'll give you an example. When I was initiated into Ifa, one of the things that I noticed is that a lot of people are Omo Ifa. Peace Didi's alchemy. They go for the first set of initiations. But and Gypsy Gray, I just saw you. I guess you popped up while I was plugging my John in. But they go for that first set of initiations, and then they come back to America and they tell everybody they're Babylao. They tell everybody they're Babylao now. And of course, people don't know. People don't know how it works. So they're like, okay, Baba, like, call you Baba, I'll call you Baba. All right, And Omo Ifa means I'm a child of Ifa. It doesn't mean I am Peace Kin 171. It doesn't mean I'm a father. Peace Quantum Love. Father means is Babalao, Baba, Baba Elawo. Is the longer version, but Babalao. So I saw that when I was getting initiated, because when I received my Omo Ifa, I didn't even tell anybody, because I was like, ain't really nothing to tell. Like, it just means now that I can study and I can learn, but I'm a child of this thing, so I don't have any extra authority or anything than I had, you know, because prior to that I was just not just, but I was an Awo of Ogun, an Ogun priest. So I'm still an Ogun priest. That's the only thing that I'm I'm strong and certified in, and now I'm just learning. So it's like I enrolled in school, if you will. But I'm looking at so many people, and I'm like, you didn't get your full initiation. You didn't. What are you doing? So I eventually then, through after a lot of study and things like that, became Awo Ifa, or a priest of Ifa, or Babalao. You know, and there's very few. Most of the people running around here saying that Babalaos are not actually Babalaos, but again, you don't know. So that's so that's an example of what I'm speaking about, in terms of sometimes we get light, but we don't get the clear vision. So like when that man was healed and he had to walk, see, that was the key. I gotta make myself vulnerable. I gotta walk with this individual I don't know, who's gonna heal me. And then sometimes what happens is the way you get healed, or the way you come into that vision, it doesn't look pretty. You know what I mean? It doesn't look the way you want. Like I said, imagine you got your eyes closed. You're vulnerable. You can't see. Somebody says, "Well, take a walk with me." So if I take a walk with you, that means now that you have to guide me, because I'm blind and I don't know you. I don't know you, man. So I have to trust you to guide me. When you say, I don't know if you take me somewhere to sacrifice me, So not only are you guiding me, but then while you're guiding me and you're talking to me about these things and these ideas and these concepts that I've never heard before, because you're a reincarnated avatar bringing something. Then on top of that, you didn't spit on me. I had, so it takes an enormous amount of faith for me to be like, whoa, 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 what is this? What are you doing? you know. But like I said, you spit on me and then I see light. Oh, I can see light. You know, and sometimes we think light is division. And we're not vulnerable enough to admit that. Like when he said, "Yo, I see men, I see trees walking as if they are men." And like he could have lied and be like, "Yeah, I see it. I got this. I'm good. Thank you." And gave him a pound, like, good looking out. You know, but he said, "No, I see, and I don't know if what I'm seeing is what life is, or is if this is off." Now sometimes that becomes our esoteric visions and dreams and our pursuits. Sometimes we're in such hot pursuit for the occult because it's so exotic. It's so exciting, and there's no real clarity there. You see, there's no real. You could study occult deities all day, but how should you eat? How should you mate? How should you interact with people? How should you approach finances? How should you approach land? How should you approach husbandry, where you're actually having to be the master of a home? How should you approach wifery, or being the mistress of a home? And all these different things. Most of the time, almost 100% of the time, you're not going to find that in your esoteric studies. You see, and sometimes people are very comfortable not finding it, because then it doesn't hold them accountable to anything. But when your deity says, take a walk with me, and you think about the power of walking with your deity and what happens when you're called to be transfigurated, right? Because you cannot walk with a deity and come back the same. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I see certain people who claim to be teachers, but one of the first things they want to show you is how down to earth they are. That's the first thing they want to show you. So like they'll do videos of them like with bottles and playing trap music and things like that, or smoking and using a lot of profanity, because they want to show you like, yeah, I'm deep and I got all this information, but I'm just like you. Well, that means you didn't go through your pain yet. You didn't go through your struggle, because it's only through your struggle that you see the face of your creator. So when that individual was being healed of his sight, he got spit on by his creator. And you're talking about the Son of Man. So the Son of Man being spit on by the sun is being hit by a solar flare. It was said that solar flares, I did a whole segment on it. I don't remember the name of that show, to be honest with you. But I spoke about that actual mythology and the idea in ancient Kemet of the sun would spit, and those were the solar flares, and sometimes the spit would hit the earth and then it would create these serpents, right? But anyway, so whether you were hit in the eye with a solar flare and now you can see, or you were hit in the eye with saliva, either way, it most likely is not a pleasant experience that builds up and brings you to your place of high vision or your place of clear vision. So then even after that, I still can't really see. So I got to walk with you some more. I got to hear some more rhetoric. I got to hear some more things which are increasing and building my faith and my capacity to even receive the healing, to receive the vision. Like I spoke about yesterday, the vision is revealed based on our capacity to receive that vision. So the more that I'm taking this faith walk, like Elijah or like Musa or Moshe, the more that I'm taking that walk, the more I'm not only being transfigured, but I'm growing. When you think about Musa going to the mountaintop to speak to Oya, and then coming back down and his hair was white, and it's like, yo, you're different. You different. You ain't the same no more, Musa. Because yeah, I stood in the shadow of my creator. Now imagine if that creator spit in your face, spit in your eyes, and put that on your eyes. We speak about the value of saliva a lot of times in hoodoo work, using guinea pepper, alligator pepper, or grains of paradise, or efun, or osun, and so many different elements we use. And then we use the saliva after it builds up, even tobacco saliva, and we use that for particular works and stuff like that. But that's all just, sometimes you got to learn. Sometimes you learn things by pretending things. Peace, Anna Maria. Like in a relationship. Now here's where the D's are coming. I know it. In a relationship, a woman gets to practice obedience to the creator by practicing on her husband, on her mate, on her master, on her man. That's where she gets it. I know. But that's where she gets to practice that. Peace, Kenneth Williams. So there's a value in some of the things that we go through as ritual. We think we're supposed to keep doing it over and over and over and over, and it's not really that. There's a practicing that happens, and when that practicing happens, then we're able to now build up to a larger vision. You see, it's not about just what we're doing here on the earth, and the vision is never just going to be something that's going to be totally earthbound, unless our thinking and our mind is totally earthbound. And in that case, it'll be our own personal vision, our own personal idea, and then we got to personally figure out how to make it happen. But who would have known, like, I'm going to be healed of my blindness by walking with someone, letting them spit on me, and then walking some more with them, and then they touch me again. You see, so is that like an anointing? Like, what is that? you know I'll let you figure it out. But so it's just important to kind of, peace, Cassie, Derwin, how you doing? How you doing? What you doing? How your mama doing? How your daddy doing? Peace, brother Christian. But yeah, that's really what I wanted to share. I don't want to go too far into it, because it can go really far when you talk about vision and the intermingling of vision and faith. But without that faith, there is no vision. You can't receive clear vision. You know what I mean? It's just not gonna happen. um, you might get some light. And like I said, you got readers, you got spiritualists, you got diviners, you got seers who can give you some light. They might got a little light, but start trying to get some clarity from them and watch what happens. Watch how quickly things fall apart. Like the classic text. Things fall apart. Watch how quickly things fall apart. Because a lot of times people were so unfaithful to the original vision that they started mixing and matching things. And always be careful with that. When someone is mixing something, sometimes people will start you off with a certain humility towards the creator, and whether they're a teacher or leader, imam, pastor, whatever it is that you got, whatever it is that you're working with, you know and uh they'll start you off with, like talking about the creator and the divine and things like that. And then eventually they'll start throwing some other stuff in it. You see, and eventually that other stuff will steer you away from the divine. And that's always the intention. Sometimes you could see it from the rip. Like that's what this is going to be. People who use mind control a lot, they use that. There's somebody I know in the social media conscious community. Um, he does that a lot. I notice whenever he talks, he uses the word believe, and it's to instill a certain spiritual thing in you by using that word. So he'll, when people ask him questions, like he's a scammer. So he'd be like, I believe that we're gonna be able to do it on this date, or I believe it's gonna happen, or I'm believing that this is gonna, I'm believing that's gonna, always using that word belief to try to tap into that spiritual nature that we all have inside of us. And it's just a tool for mind control. Never, nothing is never concrete because there's never a clear vision because you never took the full walk. After that first spit in the eye and you woke up, I'm good. I'm good now. But you walking around thinking trees are people. So you really not good. You're really not good. You don't really have clear vision, but you got just enough to get people to listen to you. Grow. You got just enough to get people to listen to you. You see? But ask for clarity and see how testy people start to get. Hey, anybody watch the Lord Jamar podcast? You got I mean? Anybody watch that podcast? I wonder what Lord Jamar and Rod Digger did an interesting one. Yes, not yesterday, a couple of days ago with somebody like that. Um, I ain't mentioning no names, but he asked somebody for clarity, and the person got irate and went crazy because there ain't no clarity in him. Lord Jamal's already squinty eyed. So you can't even see his eyeballs. So when he asked for clarity, he need that clarity. You know, um, but that's one of the ways that you can kind of know and you can kind of tell that someone is operating from their own idea and not necessarily operating from a divine vision. You ask me things about Anu. I don't tell everybody what the full vision is because that's just not wise. It's stupid. You know what I mean? That's just not wise. Especially online. You say, okay, we're doing this and then we're gonna do that, and we currently got this and this and that, and you don't do that. But there are people behind the scenes who do know. Yeah, this is what's happening, and we just acquired this. We're doing that. We're doing that, and then eventually, this is what it's gonna look like, and this is what Da, da, da. There are people who have that, and the vision is very clear. There's no stuttering. That's another sign of someone who's like conscious scammers. A couple things they do. I was thinking about doing a video on that actually, like the signs of it, but it feels so lowbrow. Like I'm tired of talking. I never talked about it really, but I'm just tired of them. You know what I mean? I don't even want to give it energy on that level. I just sense that if I keep teaching at a higher level, you'll be able to see things for yourself. And if you can't, you probably don't want to because they represent something that's in you. But there's a couple of traits there. One thing, they stutter a lot. You start asking them questions and they start stuttering, or they make purposeful um, they make purposeful grammatical errors in their speech and in their literary writings, and they use poor grammar to find easy marks and easy targets, right? People who are not really going to ask critical questions or do any type of real research into what it is that they're doing. So let's say, for instance, if I have a donation page on a website and like there's a bunch of words that are spelled wrong, I spelled donation wrong, and then you hear me speak and I'm saying, yeah, I'm trying to conversate with y'all. I'm talking like that instead of saying, I'm making an attempt to converse with you. So somebody who may be a little further along may say, well, conversate is not a word, and this man just said that he's this and he's done this and he's done that, and he doesn't even know how to use proper grammar. um I'm out of here, I'm gonna go somewhere else. But the people who don't know that conversate is not a word will still feel comfortable and cool. So now once I see what's left after I sift through, using, a lot of belief, like I'll use, I believe, conversate, and, they ain't even gonna, and ain't nobody gonna know nothing. And I'm doing a lot of talking like that. And so now what happens is I'm pulling in more people who feel comfortable in that space, but I'm also filtering out people who may be employing critical thinking, because I don't want them around. I don't want the critical thinkers anywhere near me, because the critical thinkers are going to be able to eventually see through my scam. They're going to see through the con, or they're going to start asking me critical questions, or asking me to reveal at least clear and defined aspects of the vision that I can't deliver, because there ain't no divine vision. I just got a little bit of light, and you know what I mean. And I'm bringing you in with that. So now I use that purposely as a filtering tactic. Now whoever's left, I know I can just work them. I can work them left, right, up, down, in the middle, all around. You know what I mean? I can work them. So sometimes they use that purposely. Like you'll see certain flyers and advertisements and stuff, and you'd be like, this was spelled wrong and that was spelled wrong. And you thinking like they were just hasty in their delivery. Peace, Arisha, and that's not what it was at all. It's an actual technique that they use, and there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them, but peace, Ayana. When you learn to walk with the giver of a vision and stay in that space energetically, emotionally, and mentally, like I said, you become wise to a level where you see that stuff a mile away. You see it like clear as day. Like you can see the nose on your face. It's clear as day. And there'll always be people who will advocate for those other people because they've been wrapped up in a belief. I believe in this person. I believe in that person. I believe in what they're trying to do. Belief, 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 belief. But is there a clarity of knowing faith vision? Because faith is a knowing, it's not a belief. Peace, Diedrich. It's a knowing, it's not a belief. Do you know the person? Do you know the vision at any level or at any step? No, you don't. You don't. You know, uh, because they didn't stay long enough. Peace, Paula Sanchez. They didn't stay long enough in the presence of the Creator to get clarity, to get vision. Imagine if Musa, when he went up the mountain and spoke to Oya, if he would have left before he got the commandments. Imagine if he would have just been like, yo, I went up there, I saw a storm cloud, she was wilding. You know what I mean? And I came back down. Well, what did she tell you? I'm not clear, but I just know that the Almighty is real. I know that. And let's just start functioning on that. And then the people say, well, the Almighty's real, so what should we do? And then now what Musa would have to do is start implementing his own ideas. Okay, well, let's see. I walked up a mountain and I saw the Almighty, so I'm thinking we should live near the mountains. Let's do that. And the Almighty came in a storm cloud, so we'll call it Almighty Storm. And well, but how should we live our life? How should we do this? How should we do that? Maybe we should sacrifice trees to the Almighty because it's a storm cloud, and sometimes lightning hits trees and the trees split. So I think the Almighty eats trees. So we're gonna start sacrificing trees, right? It got a little bit of light, but didn't stay long enough to get the vision, or suffered through the transfiguration of what the vision would have brought, which is he came back down the mountain, hair was white and all that, like, you know what I mean? He was aged. He went up as Musa and came down as Obatala. And then he was Orumila once he saw that they had created, an image to Het Heru. And he said, okay, now I got to bring the law. I got to be a Rumula up in this. I got to be the law bringer. These big ass heavy rocks and carried these big rocks all the way from the top to the bottom. I didn't drop one or anything like that. Now I got to do this over again. You know what I mean? So that's someone who was willing to stay to get the full vision because they had faith. You know, they were willing to move beyond blind faith. I see somebody put in the chat that blind faith leads to something. No, not necessarily that. Um, Remember, like I said in the story, it wasn't blind faith because this was an individual who was blind, but that master teacher, that master avatar said, "Walk with me." That was the key. Walk with me. So in the moment that he walked, like I said, he was telling him, he was dropping gems on him while he was walking with him. So as he's dropping gems on him, his knowing is increasing. He's getting smarter. He's becoming more aware. He's becoming more sentient, even without physical sight. But he's now developing an internal spiritual sight. You see what I'm saying? So that internal spiritual sight now, as within, so without, as above, so below. Where the mind goes, the body will follow. So now, as he's developing internal sight, because faith come by hearing, and hearing by the word of God, as it says, and we walk by faith and not by sight, right? Just throwing all those little gems, and he's probably throwing them gems while they're walking, boop, 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 and it's going in. He's like, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, okay. Ooh, wow. And then now they're firing off. So now when he spits on his, now he's just like, I spit some gems. Now I'm gonna spit, and the light comes. You see, so he was healed not necessarily by blind faith. He was healed by his courage in his faith to take the walk, or like I say, take the ride. Come on, take the ride with me. He was willing to take the ride, and in that ride, there was some gems. It's just like sometimes when people um, they tune in because they want a specific thing, or like I shared with someone yesterday. Sometimes people join I knew because they like the spiritual information that I have, and that's all they want. And I've had people say that a lot of times. Well, I just want the spiritual information. Go somewhere else. Go read a book. You can get a lot of stuff out of books. If you just want information. Um, this is bigger than that. You're going to have to take a walk. And as you're taking a walk, what's being determined along the way is your ability to extrapolate gems. So like in everything that I'm saying, even in this moment, every sentence has a gem inside of it. Even what I'm sharing with you right now, there's a gem inside of it. You see, um, and some people can break things down word by word. Why did he say this and not say that? Why does Chief never say Jesus? Why does he never use the word Jesus? But I hear him talk about scripture. Why does he always call scripture lore? Why does he always say in Bible lore? But he doesn't just say in the Bible. What is he talking about? You know? Why didn't he mention the name of the person who was healed of their sight? Why didn't he talk about the town they were in at that time? What the hell is he doing? Now some have faith and know. No, when I talk, I know what I'm saying. I'm not just rambling. Every single word is picked out specifically because I'm a man. Men would never ramble, because then that would mean that they're functioning and communicating from a place other than their deep consciousness. And if they were doing anything other than that, we'd have to question their manhood. If there's no light, if they're not speaking from light and they're speaking from dark, that's not what they're supposed to do. You know, they're supposed to will light out of the dark. They're supposed to extrapolate light from the dark. You know, but like I said, so as he's talking, he's dropping gems, boom, 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 and dude is and remember he's if he said walk with me, that means like he's probably got his hand on his shoulder, he's touching him, he's in touch. You see, or maybe he was holding his hand and he was walking and guiding him along, or holding his arm or his elbow or something like that. But either way, he's touching the word. That's the key. He's touching the logos. He's touching the word. And not only is he touching the logos and touching the word, but he's now walking by the word and walking by the logos. You see? So, not that you would just be hearers of the word, but you would also be doers of the word. There's a difference. You see? You could hear what I'm talking about and be like, yeah, that's deep. That's pretty good. Thanks. And then you go and keep acting like a moron outside of this. Or you could say, based on the things that I'm learning here and I'm hearing here, I'm going to start living my life by those principles. Well, that's when your faith will increase and that's when your vision will increase and your potential to channel healing into your own life. And that's why every 3 years you or every year you won't be sitting on somebody's mat crying, you know, because another relationship collapsed, because another business didn't work out, because you're going through depression all over again and all these different things because you saw a little bit of light, but you're unwilling to take the walk and you're unwilling to stay in touch. Oh, thank you, Quantum Love. Appreciate that. Thank you so very much, Quantum Love. I know I always say your whole. I like your screen name. It's always I don't just say like Quantum Love is a good choice. But you're willing to touch and you're willing to take that walk. You know what I'm saying? Um, how many people don't? How many people just listen to this right now and just like, oh, okay, yeah, Chief got good information. Got good information. And then they go and do whatever dumb thing they will already do it. Yeah, after I listen to Chief, then I go over to what's that site? RedTube, I think it is. I know Pornhub is one. I think it's called RedTube or something like that. You know, I don't do porno. I don't really do it. So, um, but yeah, after I listen to Chief, I go over to RedTube and Pornhub and rub one out. You know what I mean? Then I go get my breakfast and you know what I mean. Like, is this just a part of your hearing routine where you're hearing, but you're not hearing to increase faith? And sometimes that's because what you choose to surround yourself with or by is not faith inducing. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to stay in the presence. You see what I'm saying? And staying in the presence sometimes means, um, I'm going to listen to inspirational music, or, I'm going to make sure every 7 days I read a book, and I read a book that is inspiring or helps me to grow or helps me to evolve, but keeps me in the presence of all things that are good, all things that are beneficial, and all things that are centered on who I consider and what I consider my originator to be. I'm not going to drift off into stupidness, even though the stupidness may feel good, or it may be habitual. But I'm gonna kind of stay in this presence. You know what I'm saying? Um, I knew a guy like that years ago. He was a preacher's kid, but like every time I got in his car, man, he was playing gospel every time, and like I'd be like, "Yo, is this all you listen to? Like, you really just? Oh, thank you, Gypsy Gray. I appreciate it from you too. Appreciate that. You know what I mean? And I'd be like, "Yo, is this like really all you like? You just listen to gospel? Like that's really your thing? Like that's your thing? That's what you do?" And he's like, "Yeah, like I don't like listening to that other stuff, man. I don't like what it, you know, I don't like how it feels." And I respected it. I wasn't like, "Come on, man, turn on this." It's his car. You know what I mean? I respected it, and I respected where he was coming from. I had another friend like, well, we're still friends. Actually, I'm still friends with the other guy too. Um, he's a well-known keyboard player now. He plays for a lot of different groups that are out now. He's musical director on a lot of tours and stuff like that. So he's done really well. The music has taken him really far, you know. But I had another friend like, well, have another friend like that, who he was in church all the time. Now for me, I always thought, oh, thank you, Shannon, I appreciate it, appreciate it, Shannon. um, he was always in church, like all the time, and for me, yeah, I'd say even to some degree, even now, I always thought it was kind of suspect, men in church all the time. You know what I mean? Um, Especially if you got a wife at home, and you're there but she's not there. Like, that's you gotta you gotta look out. Might be some other stuff happening, but this brother I've known for a long time, and I knew him when he first got out the joint. He was down for a couple of years, about 5 6 years. He was down, and he came home, and he came home. He was saved. He was saved, right? So in church constantly, right? And I recognized that he had to be. Oh, good looking, Ricochet. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Give thanks, man. Yeah, give thanks for the super chats. Gateway to my vision. I walk by faith. Yeah, yeah. Walk with faith and by it. Both of it. You're absolutely right. But yeah, man. I messed with him about it one day. I was like, yo, you always up in that John. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, ain't no heat in your house. And he was like, man, if I'm not up in there as much as I am, man, I'm gonna be back out in them streets, man. I'm gonna go out back out there and do something crazy. So I recognized he needed that strengthening at that time. That's why one of the things I never people have said that to me before. Yeah, you don't like Christians. You don't even know me. You don't have a clue. Like, I don't have anything against the Christian church. I don't, I tell my members, you better stay the hell up out of there. Like, there's a lot of wickedness inside of there, and you definitely are not really going to hear the word of the Creator inside of there. But for a social experience, some of them are very social, and some of them are very loving, and some of them are very supporting. So from that perspective, if you're missing family, and you want to be in an environment where somebody kind of is will be accountable for you. Say, hey, I didn't see you last Sunday. You okay? How's everything going? I saw you walking to work the other day. Did your car break down? People will give you cars and will make sure you ate a meal and stuff like that. So from that perspective, it's awesome. You won't even find that in the culture community. Culture communities are not even that tightly strong, where you got children running around and growing up with each other and stuff like that, and who are engaging in activities together and grow up together. So it's great in that sense. And like for my brother, it was great because he went through something that and was still kind of in the midst of something that could have still pulled him into a lifestyle that was just very destructive. It was destructive for him. It was destructive for his children. It was destructive for his spouse at that time. She actually stayed in the she stayed in the life, and she's actually she died in the street. She was murdered. You know, but he was trying to clean things up and kind of redeem things for him and his children, and he has. He has. His daughter died recently. Unfortunately, he's now raising his grandchild um, because his daughter died. But yeah, but like I was saying, for some they need to stay in that space where the healing first came. So for him, that's where the healing first came. It is what it is. You know, it's fine. Like I said, I don't have anything against that. There's levels to this thing. There's levels. But the key is we have to stay in the presence. Like when he was walking, he touched him, he walked with him, he talked with him. That's how we have to be all the time. And that's how the vision gets sharper. I know well, couldn't you just said that in like 5 minutes in the beginning? The whole thesis to this session was how do you sharpen the vision? Yeah, I could have said it in 5 minutes, but you gotta learn to take the ride with me sometimes. Wasn't it a nice ride that we went on? All right, so I'm just gonna share that, and again, I'm gonna let you all get to what you need to get to, and it's almost 10 to 8, and I promised myself um, by 8 here that I would get back on my mountain. my mountain of tasks that I have. So yeah, so I'm gonna get ready to go do that now. But again, willfully, you got something that inspired you, and something that you can think about, and that you can start working on. Because again, like I said, it's about doing. You hear me oftentimes say, "I knew as a service ministry." You learn the most by teaching and by servicing other people. It's not just enough to grab it up and hoard it up for yourself, but you got to take this walk, man, and you have to stay in touch. And that's one of the great ways to learn somebody too, even from a mating perspective. And people ask me about that and the mating thing. Work with people. You want to see how people really are. Work with them. You know, I could be doing all this talking and everything, man, and then when it comes time to do some work, or let's say we're building something or we're laying some cement blocks, and you see me just laying in the shade, drinking some lemonade or something like that, and it will start to put into perspective what I really am and who I really am in this space, and even put my information into perspective. But when you really see me invest and devote myself to what is sacred to me, what you're going to end up seeing me is me in a more pure form. When you get to work side by side with someone and you get to experience what they have a passion for, and let's say if you share that same flame or that same passion, you see the best of each other. So truthfully and honestly, it's about the work. So I see everybody saying thank you, and you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. And like I said, willfully, it will just spark some thought, and you'll be able to use this information to now get a better grasp of your day. you know. Yeah, no doubt, Pablo Uchi, you're welcome. As well as James Karabaki. Every day your messages come up later in the day, and I'm able to give clarity to people. Yeah, divine timing. That synchronicity is real. You know, it's a real thing. But yeah, I just wanted to give a little bit more on vision today. That's all. You know, um, it's love is not necessarily fear based. That may have been the wisest decision. What was that? I usually don't go through the thing. Quantum Love said that's not doing it out of love for the creator, in my opinion. Just going to a building so you don't fall into sin is fear based. Maybe. Yeah, maybe it is. You know, but there's different reasons you would go into a building, right? There's different people. There's different reasons people listen to these segments. Um, we do have fear inside of us, but we're not to be controlled and ruled by fear. But it's there for a reason. You know, um, if there is danger down a certain street and I choose to go down another street every single day out of fear for that danger, that's a wise decision. But it's not really so much fear, it's about fortification. Sometimes before you go back into battle, you got to fortify first. And sometimes we don't give ourselves opportunity and time to fortify. You know, um, Sometimes it's like a rubber band. Sometimes you got to spring back and you got to chamber yourself before you jump back out again. So you're somebody who's been in when you're in the joint and you've been incarcerated. I don't know if you've ever been incarcerated, Quantum Love, so I don't want to make assumptions. But if you've ever been incarcerated, a lot of things are easy to do inside the joint. To be honest with you, because especially depending on the type of facility you're in, and there's not as much temptation, as there is when there's in the street, and you get back to familiar surroundings and some of the things that you're still struggling with, some of the demons that you're still struggling through. So to be able to be around people who think like you, who believe like you, who maybe know a little bit about your story and can give you words of encouragement, a lot of times is necessary before you jump back into the fray. Give thanks, Krishan. I appreciate it. Like this particular brother now actually goes into prisons. He's actually a prison chaplain now. Believe it or not. Does mental incarceration count? No, it doesn't. It's not the same, because you can be mentally free and physically incarcerated. So no, it doesn't. It, it doesn't count. No. But yeah, so you know, and just keep in mind, I'm talking about church. I'm not talking about our new. So it's hard to find the creator inside of a church. So just please put the story in context. Just remember who's talking. so so I'm not saying, yeah, he went back to church. Now it's a good thing. It was good for him for the, like I said, there's levels to this thing. For the level that he was at, and for the weaknesses that he had. One of his issues was a drug addiction before he went into jail. He was basically y'all a little young. Y'all probably never seen the movie Superfly, but if you ever get a chance and you watch the movie Superfly, that was him. And I'm gonna tell you how much of Superfly that he was. When they were designing the clothes for the movie Superfly for Ron O'Neal, he actually modeled the clothes for the movie Superfly. It's crazy, right? And he was heavy in the streets. I don't even know how that ended up happening, but they actually used him to model, you know, to the fashion consultants to model the clothes that Ron O'Neal was going to wear. So he was heavy, heavy, heavy in the game at that time. Yeah, Priest, exactly. He was heavy in the streets. So coming home and still having a lot of that in you, but understanding that a lot of that is destructive. Like I had another good friend of mine once. I remember that was like my partner back in the days. But that was back when that was before Chief. That was back when I was maybe a bit more confused about the mark I wanted to leave as a man, and we partnered in some things that were not helpful to us or helpful to our legacy, but we prided ourselves in our proficiency, right? And I remember one time, I always had church friends, right? Always because of the music. Because of the music, I was a sought after musician inside of the church environment. So even though I didn't go to church, I knew all the church people, and then I owned a barbershop, so all the church people would come to my shop to get haircuts. Because I didn't allow any profanity in my shop. I didn't allow any drinking, any smoking. So it was a very comfortable environment for a church person. So like all the deacons, the pastors, everybody came to me, right? So I remember one Friday we went out bowling. This was such a beautiful experience. Now, I'm not going to use names, but it was me. I'm gonna use initials. My man D, L, this brother that I'm talking about, who was heavy in the game. We'll call him R. I mean, his name starts with R, but we'll call him R. And then there was another R. Now the other R, he was just a cool dude. But he wasn't in the streets like that. Everybody else was heavy in the streets, right? So we went to there was a bowling alley. I forget where it was, but we went to go bowling, right? Because none of us had ever really been bowling. This is me, D, R, L. So it's five. It's five of us. Just five brothers. Just like I don't know how we came up with this thing. Like we gonna go bowling. Like it was random. It's not something like we do, right? So we ended up going to bowling alley. We didn't know how it worked. You know what I mean? Like you got to put shoes on. Like this. We didn't know nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? So we ended up not going. Like we went there, but then there was a line, and my man was like, "Yo, why we can't go now? Like that spot right there is open." Like it just turned into a whole thing. So I was like, "Yo, let's go to the movies." Right. So we ended up going to the Bronx, the Bay Plaza movie theater. I don't even remember what movie we watched. But I remember we was just having fun, just driving and went to the bowling alley, just whatever. And my man D, like I said, he's deported now. He got deported back to Jamaica. Um, but D was like, he said to me, he was like, "Yo, you." He was like, "Man, I ain't never laughed this much in my life." We hadn't even got to the like. We just going through the night, trying to do things. And he was like, "Man, I ain't never had this much fun in my life." He was like, all day, me and you, we just around killers. You know what I mean? Like, and we just always on some another type of vibe. And he said this word. It was funny. He said, "But this is like good, wholesome fun." And I never forgot when he said, "This is good, wholesome fun." And he was like, "Man, I've never experienced anything like this." Now, my man R, the two R's, and my man L, they were recently, fairly recently, saved. Like, so these were church guys, right? But they were all, well, R and L, we'll say, were well respected in the streets, even still. But they gave their life to God, right? So me and D were on something else. But remember, like I said, I always knew church people because, and I was always respectful, and I was always very sneaky. So that I, no one really knew the activities that I may have been engaging in at that time because it was nothing that I felt, you know, well, in long story, but that's how you end up going back and forth to jail every 6 months, running your mouth. It's better just to keep things quiet and just do what you're doing and stack your paper. Not that I'm giving you advice for any type of illicit activity, but the excitement that he had, and he was like, "Man, I want to do this like every Friday." Now, this was a guy at that time who was, let's just say, putting a lot of guns in people's faces. We'll just say that, right? He was in it, right? And he was like, "Yo, we should do this every Friday, man. Like, I feel so relaxed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm never in an environment like this where I could just relax and just laugh, and you know what I mean." Um, and I remember because D had a tooth missing. Another friend of ours, M, knocked his tooth out one dawning. It was a whole long thing, man. But I remember him coming back and he's at my apartment in the mirror and he was like, "Yo, that big mother effer knocked my tooth out." You know, so he always like covered his mouth when he laughed, but he was just laughing, big gap out. Every he didn't care. He was just that relaxed. So um, there's a great value, and I'm addressing the whole like going into church out of fear and stuff like that. Sometimes it's just being around a better quality of people. If you know that you again were caught up in a certain lifestyle, or maybe a lot of your friends or your comrades are, you're not strong enough to say no, I'm not doing that with you, or no, I'm you know um I remember one time, and I'm gonna close it out with this. Somehow we had a gun. I don't remember how we had this gun. Where did we get that gun? I don't even remember. So long ago. I don't know if I found a gun or if I took a gun. I took a gun. Wow. Yeah, this kid, man, I can't remember his name right now, but I was cool with his sister. It was her little brother. And I remember this was in front of the barbershop this happened. Oh man, I can picture this kid clear as day. And he was a tough little kid, but he was quiet. He used to always ride around on a scooter. It's like when scooters first came out, the little ones you kick. And he used to always have his little scooter, and he had like a lot of like a fro of curly hair, and he hung out with all the tough kids. But he's probably about 10, 11 years old. But he was cool. Like he'd come in the shop, I cut his hair, whatever. And I remember he got into something happened with like the neighborhood kids, and I think they jumped him or something like that. So he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna kill you." And I remember him. I was like, "What that little boy say?" Lo and behold, this boy comes back on a scooter and he's got a gun, right? So they outside. So I go and I rush outside. This is all in front of the shop. I rush outside and I get in front of him like, "Yo, shorty, what you doing?" And he's like, "Nah, nah," and he's waving the gun like it's a like he's teaching a class, a presentation, like it's a blackboard pointer. He was like, "Nah, nah." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, first put that down." You know what I mean? Like he's like, "Nah, nah, nah, I'm gonna pop him." He was like, "You gonna put your hands on me?" Woo, 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 woo. So I got the gun from him, and I was like, "Yo, come in the shop." You know what I mean? I took the gun, and he told me his grandfather had given it to him. It was a little 22, right? So um, now I know this is not a big deal for y'all Southern people, Cause y'all guns ain't nothing to y'all. But up north, we can't really get guns. Like I said, if you have a gun, you're doing something illegal. So his grandfather giving it to his grandfather was probably from down south. You know what I mean? So a lot of us have firearms or had firearms back, but they were never legal firearms. Like y'all get legal firearms like it ain't nothing. You know. So I took the gun from I'm in my and my man R was there, and he went to talk to the youth outside while I had Shorty inside, right? And I had a phone in the shop, and I was like, "Yo," because I only knew his sister. I didn't know anybody else. I was like, "Yo, call your sister up. Tell her to come get you, right?" So I remember after like my man R like had the other youth like leave whatever, go back home, whatever. He came back inside, so I was like, "Here, I passed the I passed the gun off to him," and he goes and grabs a towel, and he's like, he takes the gat and he holds it with the towel and he's cleaning it and he's wrapping and he's sweating bullets. And he's like, "Yo, I don't want this. I don't." He's like, "Yo, I don't want this. I don't want this." But he's wrapping it and he's like, "Yo, take this somewhere." He wasn't strong enough to have a gun in his hand without doing something with it, because it was a symbol that brought him back to a life of a lot of pain, a lot of misery, so forth and so on. You see, so sometimes we don't know a person's journey. We don't know a person's struggle, and we may see them in the church environment or in a mosque, or they join the Nation of Islam, and we're like, yeah, but what about this esoteric teaching? And we don't understand that sometimes people just need structure and good, wholesome people to be around, because those demons that are in them are still so strong. You see, they're still so strong. I don't remember what we did with that. I probably gave a gun to his sister. Yeah, but I remember, wow, it's funny all the things that you forget. But and I felt bad for the boy. Honestly, I really felt bad for him that he felt like he had to take it there. Like they jump him, and he was calm. He was so calm. Like he almost had a little smirk on his face. Like when he was waving on, he was like, "Nah, nah." He was like, "Nah, y'all jump me, nah, nah." Like I want to pop somebody. I've been waiting for it's like Phil Collins. I've been waiting for this moment. I'm gonna pop one of y'all out here. And these are all children. Nobody was over the age of like 11, 12 years old. But one of them was about to die that day. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, man. Some of us are just not as strong, and it's nothing to be ashamed about. When you take root into something, it takes a while for those roots to really get strong. And sometimes, like I said, coming out of the Bing or coming out of prison, um, it's easy when you're in there. You know what I mean? Yeah, in prison you got everything you got out here. You got drugs, you got relationships, you got jealousies, you got friendships, you got police. You got everything in that sense. But it is really easier. And even people who may have been a-holes on the outside are now on their dean. You know what I mean? They're trying to do the right thing. They're reading, they're exercising, they're eating 3 meals a day, getting plenty of rest, and all those different things. So once you come home, now now the real challenge begins. And for some, they know themselves to know enough to know I could be received right back into that environment. Let me explore more of this other thing. So that's what I'm saying. You got to stay in touch with what opens your eyes, you know. And it may change as you take that walk. It may evolve. And yeah, you may take that walk. You may take that walk with Jesus, and then eventually you're taking a walk with the spirit of Khalid Muhammad, and then you may take the walk with the spirit of Khalid Muhammad, and you may take that walk with Buddha, and you may take many walks. That's what this journey of life is. We're moving, we're walking, and ultimately each one is going to give you a vision, you know, and if it's a real divine entity, you're going to get a vision, and your job is to hold on, to hold on, don't let go. So if you're that blind person that had to hold the shoulder, you keep holding that shoulder, that elbow, or that arm and you keep going through that process until the vision clears. That's really what it's about. But like with my man D, you know, Yeah, man. You know, he's somebody that I wish would have came along with me, who would have took the walk with me. You know, like I said, this was my brother. Like we yeah, we did everything together. You know, and like I was always on some teaching and consciousness, and he'd be like, "Yeah, you talk that ish, talk that." You know, when we be in spots, he was like, "Yo, my man, you was deep, talk that ish," you know. But he was still very much in love with terrorizing people, terrorizing people, getting over on people, taking what didn't belong to him, and you know that eventually led to his deportation. And sometimes I think about, you know, what would have looked like if we would have been doing this work together. You know, if it could have maybe graduated to that, if we weren't just young men who were confused about what makes a man. You know, what makes a man. You know, but sometimes some people they can't take the walk. Sometimes you know they'll get the light like, wow, you that was deep. You know, and but they don't want the full clarity because of the transfiguration that comes as a result. All right. So yeah, 1 hour 41 minutes later. 1 hour 41 minutes later, here we are. All right. So now I really do have to go. Like I said, I'm 10 minutes over my time, which isn't too bad. But yeah, and I got my reminders popping off. So I really have to get back to my work. But yeah, man, thank you for taking the ride with me. And willfully, I'll lead you closer to the divine and the things that I'm saying, and not take you on a walk. Like you said, there are many walks, but 99% of them will lead you to the bottom of the ocean to nothing. So they ain't all good. You know. So willfully, I led you on the red path and the right road, and I'll keep doing that for as long as I'm able to. All right, everyone, enjoy your day. Be well. Be safe. All right. Be loving.